2 hours, 17 minutes, and 40 seconds, Bryansk Oblast, tree line east of a rail spur that doesn't exist on any brochure map. A launch node wakes up in the dark, generators humming, cable reels pulled tight, crews moving with the practiced impatience of people who think they're out of reach. They believe distance was armor. They had no idea the coordinates were already old. A minute later, the air changes. Not with a siren, with pressure, with that subtle, physics-first warning that arrives before sound. Somewhere beyond the horizon, something fast has been released from its container and handed over to inertial math. This is not a strike on a barracks, not a symbolic crater for the evening news. This is aimed at the spine, the infrastructure that lets missiles be born, aligned, and thrown. If it works, launch tempo collapses. If it fails, the message still lands. Your rear areas are no longer rear. No warning, no radio contact, no second chances. The target isn't a single vehicle. It's an ecosystem. It starts with the launcher, an 8x8 or 10x10 transporter erector launcher that looks like a truck until you're close enough to see what it really is. A mobile, hardened robotics platform with hydraulic muscles and a payload that costs more than the town it's parked beside. A modern missile TEL is a moving factory line. It carries the round, protects it, raises it, powers it, aligns it, and speaks the digital language that turns steel into trajectory. The crew is small, often 3 to 5, but the capability is enormous. One vehicle can project a warhead hundreds of kilometers at hypersonic terminal speeds, threading through air defenses that were designed for slower decades. But the launcher is only the visible part. Behind it, the reload vehicle with a crane that can lift a sealed canister like it's a shipping container. The command post, either a van or a hardened shelter, where encrypted mission data is loaded. The power unit, the antenna mast, the field maintenance kit that keeps guidance sections within tolerance. Even the route itself matters, the bridge classifications, turning radii, soil compaction for the stabilizers. You don't just launch, you stage, you synchronize. You build a short-lived bubble of order in a world trying to kill you. The scale is measured in numbers that don't care about ideology. A single modern cruise missile can run 7 figures. A ballistic system's round can be higher. The TL is a multi-million-dollar asset. The training pipeline for its crew is months to years. The launch infrastructure is the real investment. The comms architecture, the navigation references, the camouflage doctrine, the decoy discipline, the depot network that keeps propellant, fuses, and spare parts moving. And every one of those nodes leaves a signature. Heat, RF logistics, human routine. The adversary's condition is the reason this infrastructure exists so far from the front line. It's not confidence, it's fear with a budget. When a force starts pushing launch units deeper into its own territory, it's admitting something. The near rear is no longer safe. Drones have made the front porous. Precision has made the map dishonest. So the motive hardens into a familiar trio: desperation, intimidation, sovereignty theater. Desperation because the stockpile has to be used before it's rendered irrelevant. Intimidation because terror strikes are still the cheapest way to force a narrative. Sovereignty because admitting vulnerability is political death. Their plan is simple: keep the launch cycle alive, keep missiles flowing, keep the opponent reacting. Fire from depth, move fast, hide in forests and industrial spurs. Blend into civilian geography, make every strike feel inevitable. But that plan is like trying to win a chess match by throwing the board across the room. Dramatic, loud, and fundamentally unable to change the math once the other side knows your hands. Because the defender isn't hunting a launcher. They're hunting the process. Detection starts days earlier, not minutes. It begins with pattern recognition, the pulse of rail shipments that don't match commercial flow, the sudden appearance of fuel tenders on secondary roads, the way air defense batteries reposition not to protect cities, but to protect empty squares of forest. A launch node can hide its metal. It can't hide its behavior. Then sensors layer in. High-altitude ISR watches route networks like a living circuit board. Satellites don't need to see the missile. They need to see the shadows move. Thermal passes catch engine heat bleeding into cold ground. Synthetic aperture radar sketches shapes through cloud and darkness, reading the geometry of vehicles that try to be trees. Closer and long-endurance drones take over. They don't chase, they wait. They watch for the moment the antenna mast goes up, because a launcher without comms is just a truck with ambition. Signals intelligence listens for short, tight bursts. Uplinks, key exchanges, brief emissions that crews swear are too small to matter. And ground reconnaissance feeds the final piece. Local eyes, roadside anomalies, new tire tracks where there shouldn't be any. No panic, just process. A layered defense network is built the same way a good strike package is built. Rings. Outer ring, strategic awareness, wide sensors, early warning. Middle ring, persistent platforms that confirm and refine. Inner ring, weapon selection and time-on-target coordination. If the contact is real, it's not enough to know where it is. You have to know what it will be when your munition arrives. Because time is the real battlefield. 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 10 seconds. The first confirmation comes not from a dramatic image, but from a tiny inconsistency. A convoy pauses in a place that makes no tactical sense unless you're waiting for clearance. 2 vehicles stop. One rotates slightly, an orientation change that matches antenna deployment, not rest. A third vehicle holds back at 200 meters, classic security spacing. The geometry is wrong for civilians, perfect for launch prep. 3 hours, 11 minutes, and 55 seconds, the Defender's operations cell starts building a strike solution. Not a shoot button, a model. Wind profiles aloft. Estimated jammer presence. Known air defense locations. Road speeds. Launch site suitability. Firm ground, low silhouette, escape route. The question isn't, can we hit it? The question is, can we hit it at the moment it matters? Here's what makes this fascinating. The most valuable thing in a missile unit isn't the missile. It's the alignment. The few minutes when guidance is being trusted, when navigation is being updated, when the crew is committed. Catch it then, and you don't just destroy hardware, you erase confidence. 3 hours, 19 minutes, and 20 seconds. A second contact appears, another cluster, offset by several kilometers. That changes everything. 2 nodes could mean decoys, or it could mean a dispersed battery, launchers separated, so one strike can't kill the whole set. The Defender now has to choose between certainty and tempo. Wait for more confirmation, risk losing the window. Strike now, risk hitting a decoy and teaching the enemy what you can see. Rules of engagement tighten, like a vice. This isn't a battlefield trench. This is rear area infrastructure, collateral risk, civilian proximity. The strike must be precise, timed, and disciplined. 3 hours and 27 minutes, the target begins to breathe. Vehicles shift positions. One disappears under canopy, another backs into a clearing. A launcher that expects to fire chooses terrain, like an engineer. Clear overhead, firm footing, minimal slope. A crane vehicle edges closer. That's not theater. That's reload posture. 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 40 seconds. The Defender selects munitions based on a brutally simple equation. Range, speed, survivability, and effect on hardened targets. A cruise missile offers precision and standoff, but spends time in air. A ballistic strike arrives faster, but is harder to retask. A loitering munition can stalk, but may be vulnerable to air defense. The ideal is a coordinated pair. One to blind, one to kill. One to disrupt the defense bubble. One to punch through to the node that matters. 3 hours, 41 minutes, and 15 seconds. The strike package is built like a key cutting through a lock. First, electronic pressure, jammer drones or EW bursts timed to coincide with terminal guidance windows. Second, decoys to force air defenses to reveal themselves. Third, the main rounds, arriving on a tight time-on-target spread so that one intercept doesn't save the rest. Let's talk about the launch infrastructure itself, because understanding it is essential. Missile launch isn't magic, it's a sequence. Power up, align inertial systems, verify coordinates, load mission data, check link integrity, confirm safety interlocks, rotate and elevate, final checks, launch, and then immediate displacement because the first launch is also a flare for every sensor watching. If you hit the power unit, you freeze the sequence. If you hit the command vehicle, you decapitate it. If you crater the access road, you trap the tail in place long enough for the second strike. 3 hours, 49 minutes, and 30 seconds. A thin line moment arrives, the kind that never shows up in edited footage. A civilian vehicle, unrelated, unaware, cuts along a minor road near the suspected node. The operations cell has seconds to decide whether the strike window can be held without unacceptable risk. The cold logic of the mission meets the chaotic truth of real geography. They don't cancel, they adjust. The aim point shifts by tens of meters. The timing shifts by seconds. That's the difference between a disciplined force and an impulsive one. Precision is not just where the weapon lands. It's what the decision makers refuse to do. 3 hours, 56 minutes, and 5 seconds, the enemy's air defense ring begins to speak. Short, sharp radar activations. Not full search. Brief peeks. That tells you they know they might be watched. They're trying to be invisible while still being alive. A contradiction in electromagnetic form. For hours, 2 minutes, and 40 seconds, the first decoy wave crosses a boundary line. The air is calm, but the spectrum is not. False targets appear on screens. Operators have to decide, waste an interceptor on a ghost, or hold fire and risk a real hit. This is where training is tested. The best defense is restraint. The worst defense is pride. For hours, 7 minutes, and 10 seconds, the main weapons are committed. Somewhere far away, launch signatures are brief. Flash, smoke, then nothing. The rounds disappear into altitude and darkness. Their guidance is mathematical. Their patience is mechanical. The most dangerous moment came at 4 hours, 10 minutes, and 55 seconds. An enemy radar locks briefly. Not long enough for a full engagement, but long enough to cue a shot if the operator is fast and the system is ready. One interceptor launches, just one. A single streak of fire rising, chasing a target that may or may not matter. It's an act of faith in software. The decoy does its job. The interceptor spends itself on the wrong object. The radar, now revealed, becomes a coordinate. For hours, 14 minutes, and 30 seconds, the second wave arrives. The defender's rounds are now inside the inner ring, where seconds are the only currency. Terminal guidance wakes up. The weapons start correcting tiny shifts at high speed, steering with the calm precision of something that doesn't fear dying. For hours and 16 minutes, the launch node attempts displacement. Vehicles begin to move, but too late. Heavy tells don't teleport. They lumber. They need turning space, traction, and time. Time they no longer have. For hours, 17 minutes, and 25 seconds, impact sequence begins. First, a flash at the tree line. White hot for an instant, then orange. The ground doesn't just shake, it ripples. The sound arrives late, a delayed slap that makes metal rattle in nearby structures. Secondary pops follow, small, sharp detonations that suggest fuel, power units, or stored ordnance cooking off. The air fills with that unmistakable mixture, burning polymer, diesel, and pulverized earth. Inside the node, the crew reaction is pure physiology. Heads down, hands up, instinctive sprint to cover that may not exist. Radios screaming into dead air because the antenna mast is now a twisted shape on the ground. The command vehicle's interior lights flicker, then die. Screens go black. In the dark, training becomes touch memory. For hours, 18 minutes, and 10 seconds, a second strike lands offset, clean, surgical. Not a random crater. A deliberate cut aimed at the reload component or the command element. This is how you kill a launch capability without wasting munitions on vanity. You don't need to destroy every truck. You need to break the chain. For hours, 19 minutes, and 5 seconds, a final beat, either a delayed detonation or a secondary explosion, lights the canopy from below, turning trees into silhouettes. For a moment, the forest looks like a map of veins lit from inside. Then the light collapses. Smoke takes over. The node is no longer a node. It's debris and silence. Devastating. Controlled. Because the point isn't spectacle. It's denial. Now the ledger. A strike like this costs real money. Cruise missiles, drones, EW assets, each with maintenance tails, training costs, and limited inventories. A single precision round can cost hundreds of thousands to over $1 million, depending on class. Add the intelligence cycle, satellite time, drone hours, analysts, comms, security, and you're looking at an operation that burns through resources like jet fuel. Quietly, constantly, expensively. But look at what the target represents. If the infrastructure hit includes a launcher, you've removed a multi-million-dollar platform and a crew that can't be replaced quickly. If it includes the command post and power units, you've forced the entire battery offline. If it includes reload assets, you have their sustained fire rate. And if you've hit a storage or preparation node, where missiles are staged before launch, you've attacked the stockpile in its most vulnerable state. Concentrated, handled, and dependent on support equipment. Fuel cost on their side isn't the point. Their real cost is exposure. Every time a launch unit emits, moves, and assembles, it reveals doctrine. Routes. Camouflage quality. Air defense posture. Reaction time. Their defense systems show what they can see and how they choose targets. That is intelligence value that outlives the crater. So the conclusion reads like a hard accounting line. They spent millions to keep a launch rhythm alive. They revealed patterns, positions, and procedures. They achieved, strategically, almost nothing except proving they still require rear area sanctuaries. Sanctuaries that are shrinking. And that's the deeper irony. Politics argues. Physics collects. Propaganda will try to turn this into a story of certainty, either total success or total failure. Edited clips will show fireballs without context. Statements will claim impossible totals or deny visible damage. But the real comparison isn't video to video. It's claim to log. It's a mission to intercept. It's time on target to displacement time. In modern war, the real battle is information. Not because truth is noble, because truth is useful. The side that measures better, predicts better, and decides faster owns the tempo. The crater is just the punctuation mark. And the lesson is cold. Deterrence now lives in the rear. Logistics nodes launch. Infrastructure, comms vehicles, power units, these are the pressure points. They're not glamorous. They don't march on parades. But they decide whether missiles fly tonight or sit useless in sealed tubes. Math beats politics. Sensors beat speeches. Process beats panic. If you found this breakdown valuable, subscribe and share. More stories that never make headlines are coming.